Team, greetings from a very, very sunny React HQ. I just want to give you a short update because we had the whole board of trustees down this weekend for them to have a catch up with a lot of the responders on what's been happening on React, but also then to have a full day of strategy and then agreeing and planning the strategic direction going forward. Obviously, in the context that we don't really know what's going to be happening in the world right now, so it's reasonably short-termist. I just wanted to give you a very quick down rep from what happened there that we're going to start working out plans out of. The information is only a couple of days old, but the Friday was spent with the board getting a series of case studies from the different members of the team here and from the responders who'd been heavily involved in OpReact. And it's just some of the content and the story that is there to be told was so impressive. And even though I've lived every day of this op, to hear it in more detail, straight from the horse's mouth, the work that Lizzie did in SJC to get us all that access so quickly, and the letters of praise that have been sent to us by the various generals that came into contact with her at the time, the work H did in getting us strategic access across the voluntary sector, and the fact that he's now pivotal in the VCSEP's thinking and response, and Mary as well, who was up on her own in Cumbria, having the most torrid experiences trying to get the various different bodies and councils to work with up there, and she really had to battle through on her own, and has just done incredibly well. I mean, I take my hat off to Mary and the work she did up there. It's just fantastic. And Zoe Sayer was working in the RBLI village, which of all of the things we've done here, I went to visit her and the team in the village. It's one of the things that's had the most profound effect on me because it was such a game changer for those people, and the outpouring of emotion and gratitude. And we also had Phil McRae and Nicola up talking about being ops chiefs and what's been going on. And it was just this wonderful showcase of everything that's brilliant about this organisation, all the work you've all done for the last 124 days, 125 days. And it was fabulous. And to all of those that came down and presented, massive thanks from us here at HQ, and the board really appreciated it. It gave them such a deep dive into the last 4 months, but also it gave them a great flavour for how the volunteer base has matured over the years and what it is now. And hearing from Mary and Nick Chalice, who only joined in January and were delivering game-changing part of the operation here, and just the calibre of those two people, and just the way the volunteer base has continued to develop and what it represents now is for them looking at this from a governance point of view. It's hugely heartening to see all of you and the kind of people we have deploying these operations, and the experience and the capabilities they bring, but also the professionalism and the humility and the strategic understanding that it's not this sort of very blinkered, just get it done. It's a really grown-up approach that you're all taking, and the board was hugely impressed and hugely grateful, and I'm massively grateful as well. And then Saturday was very much around me and the executive directors here presenting our strategic assumptions, and then going into about an 8-hour debate with the board around where we're going to place our strategic chips. It really is where are we going to place our educated bet right now, or what we think the world's going to do. And it was going to be focused in 3 areas. Our macro assumptions for the world during post-COVID, in the context of the humanitarian landscape. What we think that means for our operational plans, and so what's our operational assumptions looking out 3 years, and then what that means for funding underpinning that. And what was interesting was most of the conclusions drawn are as expected, and we were certainly sort of guiding the conversation that way. But there were some big pivots in the conversation where we realised we had to change the operational approach. So I'm just going to give you a couple of the high-level bullets of what we're thinking for the next 6 to 9 months, because me and the team now needed to start doing some mission analysis on that strategic intent from the board to look at exactly how it's going to fit together, and we'll get that as soon as we've done it. But the big change was we were just starting to rationalise our commitment to the to the COVID response here. We're starting to do tasks now that aren't necessarily what we should be doing. Local councils should be finding solutions to that. So we were looking at winding down the response and staying, in the strategic part of the recovery, working with the Red Cross and the VCSEP, but very much backing off from that and rationalising it. Maybe going down to one role in the multi-agency cells from the end of from the end of August, and then starting to look internationally and pivoting back to our core mission and what we might do there. What became very clear when we started bringing all those three parts of the conversation together is that our funding viability at the moment is contingent upon the work that we're doing in the UK. We've raised just under 1.4 million since the end of March to now, which is amazing. It's more than it's more money than we've raised in the last 3 years, which is fantastic. But it doesn't solve our constant funding fragility. It does give us a runway for about 7 to 8 months at the moment, which is great. It's nice and comfortable. It's within policy, but the pipeline behind that 1.4 is now uncertain because we're entering into a world of huge amounts of uncertainty. What is clear, though, is that the work we're doing in the UK is what is giving us relevance. And at the moment, there is real life work for us to do here that fits with our mission, which fits with our purpose. So we're not just creating projects for the sake of it. There is a need for what it is you can all do. So whilst we were looking to rationalise our work in the domestic space, just hold on to the multi-agency sales work and then look to get back to core business. Actually, we're going to double down into the UK resilience framework, certainly for the end of the year and into Q1 next year, to really push against the success we're having, to keep driving that profile, keep delivering great work around the UK, working with the likes of Fair Share, British Red Cross, VCSEP, the low input, high output activity that we've been doing. So we're really going to push into that now for the next 6 to 9 months, certainly, which gives the fundraising team and myself the opportunity to have meaningful conversations with funders. But also some of this work now we are starting to get essentially paid to deliver. So we're getting donations back from certain organisations to deliver. So big takeaway then for you is there's going to be lots of activity, I hope, between now and Q1 to get involved at the local level. And we will keep on the balls of our feet looking at the international space. We're all looking at what happens in the Caribbean this year. The water, the oceans are hot. It's likely there will be hurricanes. Can we get there? What will that look like? Can we get back? What does quarantine look like? But critically is, can we fund it? It will always be a factor of, is there a need? Can we address it? Can we fund it? And can we now get back inside the volunteer model that we currently have? Because you might be able to give us 2-3 weeks for the response, but if you have to spend 14 days of that in quarantine on the way home, what does this mean? So key takeaway, we're doubling down into the domestic space for the time being, while we wait and see what happens in the rest of the world. We will be keeping on the balls of our feet for the international response work, which is our core mission, which is our raison d'etre. And we will then be putting to the middle ground, priority 3, our work in international resilience and COVID outreach, what's happening in Africa. There's just too much uncertainty around that at the moment, when there is a need here, and with the funding situations around the world as such, we have to stay relevant to keep our funding lines open. So that was the big strategic takeaway. We've got a 7 to 8 month financial runway at the moment. The next feedback loop with the board is in 12 weeks' time to show them progress. They're probably going to put a target of around £400,000 on us to the end of the year, because then that will give us a 12-month runway, but with a constant operational activity going through it. So that's the state of play at the moment. The process now will be that Nick will agree the high-level strategic direction of the board and then issue me with a letter, which is essentially strategic intent. Me and the team will then go and do mission analysis against that, strategic planning against that, and come back with what the short to mid-term strategy is for the organisation, which we can start delivering against. All focused on the 3 main areas that we always focus our strategies on, which is the operation, so our capability, what is that, how we're going to fund it, and then the people development, the responder development. What capability, what kind of investment do we need to make in you, how many people, etc. So it's always based on those 3 trigger points. points. It was a hugely positive weekend, and we've got such an engaged board that is engaged and close enough to the business that they can make informed decisions, because they're all incredibly smart and incredibly successful, like most trustee boards. But lots of trustee boards are too distant from the organisation to be able to make good, informed decisions. But ours is not heavily involved, and they spent a whole weekend down here going through the whole thing. And we will come out of this with a really strong strategic plan for the next 6 to 9 months, because so much is changing on a week by week, month by month basis in the world at the moment. It's futile making a 3-year strategy when we have no idea what the world's going to look like. So we'll stay agile the way we did at the beginning of this crisis, and we will navigate our way through this next period of uncertainty, delivering great work along the way. Because essentially, if you keep delivering great work, keep sending teams of responders to do good stuff, the organisation will be in a good place. So look, that's just a short snapshot for the time being. As we start pulling it apart, I'll give you more updates. Right, take care everyone, and thanks for everything you're doing. Those of you on the ground, stay safe, and speak to you all soon. Cheers team.